Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Believers Club. My name is Rena, and this is my lovely friend. Hi.
Hello.
We are back with the new episode. I think it's episode 23, and we're going to be talking about people pleasing and
Mhm.
everything related to that. Why do we do it? Do we do it? Is it good or bad? How do we not do it? We're going to get into the nitty gritty of that. And yeah, if you guys have not checked out any of our previous episodes or know what we're about, we're pretty much two friends that got together because we had started our entrepreneurial journey and we needed the support system. And we felt like, you know what, let's start a platform where we can share our experiences and get people hopefully to listen and take whatever they can from our own experiences and learn from it and apply to their life. So yeah, and today
Here
we're
we are.
and which we all do to a certain extent in our life. I feel personally being Indian, it's in our blood. I feel from day one, and yeah, let's just get right into it. What do you think, Harj?
Absolutely. I think that sometimes when you need something or you're looking for something yourself, sometimes you have to be the one to create it. And that's how this came together with the Believers Club, because the one thing that is true to both Serena and I is that we fully believe that there is not a single thing that is impossible to achieve.
Yeah,
There's not a single dream that's out there or a single goal that's out there that people can't do if they want it,
yeah,
right? The things
yeah,
that stop us from doing those, getting those things that we want, is all the external stuff. So we wanted to come together and create the Believers Club so that people have a safe place to go to understand and know that there's people that believe in you, that believe in your wildest dreams, right? And know
yeah.
that they can come true.
And
So
that there are people out there just like you, crazy enough to believe in the craziest shit, but yeah, you can achieve it all.
you can achieve it all. And you know what? At the end of the day, it all comes down to your environment and what you're willing to do, right? And so we decided to come up with topics to talk about, and give you guys some insight, maybe some advice, kind of share with you our experiences,
Yeah.
so that maybe it can help you along your journey. And today, we want to talk about, like Serena said, people pleasing, because that is a big thing that I think a lot of people have, but I think mostly women have.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, yeah, we could get into that. I haven't. Let me
I,
think.
I I feel
Yeah.
like we're a little bit more conditioned to
Yes,
appease
for sure.
others,
For sure.
right? And
Hmm.
to serve others and to put others first and to not worry about ourselves. And I think men can definitely have like a people pleaser mentality too. But from my experience, it's been a lot of women who tend to put themselves on the back burner and put other people first, right? And worry about other people. But again, like this can relate to anybody. People pleasing is, I think, a symptom of deep insecurity. And we can talk about, how we got here, and why people pleasing can be a very negative thing on your success and your business, how to channel it.
Yeah, no, for sure. Um, Being from Indian community, we're notorious to wanting to please everyone but ourselves. Like Hart said,
Mhm.
we don't start with ourselves; we start with the world, and that's what fucks us over in the long run because you're continuously going to be focused on, oh, what is this person going to think if I do this? What is this person going to think
Yeah.
if I do this? So your
Image, image,
decision,
image.
yeah, and your decisions start to become related to other people. Your decisions aren't even your decisions anymore for your life or whatever it is because you're making them based off of what it may make other people feel with the decision you're making. Um, and you have to be ready to kind of be left on your own a little bit if you are wanting to not please people and give it to them how it is or be truly yourself. Know that that comes with a lot because everyone in general, like I mentioned Indian community, but the whole world, I think we're dedicated to pleasing each other to a certain extent. um, but how far the extension and how far away it is from your true self is what you're going to have to battle with, I think,
100%.
going through this pleasing part, or just working through not wanting to please people or please people. So um, yeah, it's been passed on for centuries, decades, generations to do this. So it's, I think now we're at a generation where we're going against the grain a little bit. So it challenges our forever mentality that's all around us. And that is challenging because it's not the norm. And when something isn't normal, we think it's weird or something outside the box, or it's just not the normal thing to do. But there's a new norm now. And I feel like that's why we're sitting here. Um,
Yeah.
this would not be going down 20, 30 years ago as easily as it can nowadays, and how easily we can express ourselves, um, and
On
not
so many
worry,
levels.
and yes, and not worry about any of you guys watching this and thinking what like something about ourselves. We're just gonna say exactly what we feel. It's up to you to judge us in whatever way, or take from it the way you want to take it, which you have to be familiar with if you're trying to not be a people pleaser.
Yeah. And you know what? It's crazy. Like Serena mentioned something like 30 years ago, we wouldn't have this conversation. And 30 years ago just shows you how fast time really does go and how much progress can be made in 30 years. And 30 years is not, when you think about it, that long of a time. It's only 3 decades, right?
Mhm.
And you think about how much progress can happen if people really put their minds towards changing society. 30 years ago, first of all, we wouldn't even be on Zoom. We wouldn't even have our computers. We wouldn't even have technology to communicate
Life
with each
was
other. 30
different.
years ago, if me and Serena were at the age that we are today, 30 years ago, we would have been married and had children by
Yeah,
now, right?
yeah,
Our children would have been growing up, and we would have only had really them to talk to, because in our society, in our culture, your friend, your family, or your friends, right?
yeah, yeah,
And we would not be able to openly discuss these things. And within 30 years of time, so much progress has happened. And that's part of the reason why we even do this, because we want more progress to happen.
yeah.
Uh, and what I guess we should also talk maybe about, like, what is people pleasing, because maybe not everybody knows even what the hell that is. Like, what is a people pleaser?
I, to this day, struggle of letting go of the urge of wanting to be liked, and that's what people
Yeah.
pleasing is. I personally think. To this day, I struggle with it. Um, I have come across, but always realize over a lifetime that not everyone is going to like you. That's what
Mhm.
I've realized. As much as I want to be liked and please people and make sure they hear exactly what they want to hear instead of what I want to say, um, I've learned that you are not going to be liked by everyone, or loved by everyone, or hated by everyone. And that's the differentiation of people pleasing.
Yeah.
If you want to be liked or not.
Exactly, totally. I
The
agree. And
basic,
I
that's like
think,
the basic version of what people
yeah,
pleasing.
I think a people pleaser is someone who tries their hardest to make other people happy,
Yes.
and they act the way that they do because their insecurities and lack self-esteem. And so they put their self-esteem and their insecurities into the hands of other people to validate them. And they do that by just making sure everyone's good all the time.
Yeah.
And there's a doctor, her name is Dr. Susan Newman, and she talks about this, and she talks about how people pleasers want everyone around them to be happy, and they'll do whatever it takes to keep them that way.
Yeah.
And the second that they're not able, people pleasing, as much as we think is selfless, it's actually pretty selfish, because people pleasers, their motive their motive is not to just make the world a better place. Their motive is to stroke their ego, to make themselves feel good, because they don't feel good themselves. They don't think they have the power to make themselves feel good. So they go out of their way to make everybody else happy so that they can be accepted. And in the mind of a people pleaser, from my perspective, it's almost like it's other people's responsibility to make me happy, but I got to do the things to put them in a good mood so they'll give that back to me, right? And the
Yeah,
second that the
100%.
person in front of me is not happy, I become the victim, and all of a sudden I become like, what did I do? This is my fault. And we kind of end up in a place of like thinking everything is about us when it's not. Everything around you is a reflection of you, when really it has nothing to do with you.
Yeah,
And it's a vicious cycle. I would have to say, like, my mom is the epitome of a people pleaser, and I understand from her perspective. It's like she constantly grew up with that will and that desire to be liked and accepted, and she never got that, and she was given everything but that. And so for her, she grew up thinking that the only way to be accepted is if she went out of her way and took care of people. And if
yeah,
she took care of people, they would then return what she needed. And it's disempowering because the person genuinely believes, that they can't do it for themselves. And the second that they stop doing things for other people and they start doing things for themselves, they feel like they're being a bad person.
yeah, yeah.
And it's a really fucked up place to be in mentally.
I feel like it's a perfect example of when you don't have boundaries. That's when you're gonna
Yeah.
keep pleasing and just making everyone else happy, but looking at what the fuck makes you happy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's, yeah, you're like you said, it's a vicious cycle that is very hard to get out of. And when you do try to get out of it, like I said earlier, make you be aware that you will lose people. You will have people look at you a little differently
Yeah.
because you are not going with the flow of what that person wants you to go with. And that, yeah, it's a vicious cycle to get out of it and work on not letting people affect your life, the outside
Yeah.
people affect your life.
And it's like it can, like I said before, it can look like you're being generous or helpful, but there's a difference. I think when you are genuinely when you're trying to be generous and you're trying to be um, really thoughtful towards someone, it comes from a healthy place, right?
Mm,
Like a healthy mindset and like a genuine happiness, and you want to share that with someone, right? That comes from like a balanced place. Like if I'm going to go out of my way to do something for you, I'm going to do something for you because I genuinely want to, from a healthy place, because I
yes,
know being a good person and being a kind person, what being a friend is like, and being helpful to others. And then the difference is um the flip side of that is coming from a place of a lowered self-esteem and from a need for approval. That's different. if
yes,
i if I
yeah,
let's say, I don't know, let's say Serena's sick and I come by and I drop off her favorite meal or her soup or something like that. I'm doing that. Let's just say that was a scenario and I did that as a friend. But
mm,
if I was a people pleaser, I would be doing that same task in hopes to be in hopes for her to be satisfied and to like make me feel good
yeah,
about
yeah,
myself. I
yeah,
could do something for Serena and she could not say thank you at
yeah,
all. And I would be like, but I did that just because I didn't do it because I needed anything back. A people
yes,
pleaser constantly needs to be told that what they're doing is good,
yes,
right? They make themselves a servant to others, right? Out of a desire for approval. Like, if I do this, maybe Serena will like me more.
yeah,
If I go out of my way and I do all of this,
yeah,
maybe this person will like me more. Maybe I'll become more desirable.
yeah. And that's a cycle that you really need to realize that it's
Yeah.
really about you than it is about the people outside that you're trying to please, because it all roots from what's the issue here, what's lacking, that you're looking for so much acceptance from so many individuals. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, your parents is one thing, of course, these are people that brought you into this world. There's certain people in your life that kind of have a little bit more authority into your life and
Yeah.
you wanting to please them. But then there's people that I think we just please for the fuck of it, and
Yeah.
it's energy that you're draining instead of letting yourself know or figuring out why you're wanting to go to those people and want acceptance. But I totally agree. Like,
Yeah.
either you do it because you're just generous, you're not wanting shit back. That comes down to the expectation. Or you're being like, I'm gonna take the soup, so hopefully she messages me and says like, "Thank you so much," and like all
Yeah.
that. You know what I mean? Instead of
She
just
thinks
like,
I'm a good
"Oh,
friend. She thinks
cool,
I'm this. Like, I'm doing it so that I look better in her eyes as a person.
yeah,
And I can, it's like kind of like how people, now this kind of is veering off a little bit, but when people give to the homeless and they like video it and tape it and they
yeah,
do things to create an image of being a good person, I feel like people pleasing isn't necessarily the same, but at the end of the day, like you are looking for very similar outcomes and
yeah,
being, given acceptance.
yeah,
um I think that when it comes to like, I know that in for me, people pleasing showed up in friendships when I was a kid and in high school, um, and then it turned into relationships with men. And I look back and I was in a really toxic, very abusive relationship for a number of years. And when I look at that person that I was when I was in that relationship, I was I was a people pleaser to the core, and it was the most unhealthy shit I've ever experienced in my life. It's like taking 100 glasses of Coke and drinking them all at once. Imagine what that would do to your body. That's what I did to my mental state in that relationship. I just toxified it.
yeah,
But I gave up all of my power and I gave it to the other person. And anytime that that person complimented me, or anytime that I would do something and I would get rewarded from it through admiration, I would continue to do that. Like I would continue to go out of my way for my boyfriend so that he would see that I'm a good girlfriend. And it
yeah.
turned into this like really nasty cycle because he also had the ability to then tell me I was the opposite, and that had just as much of an effect as well, right?
That lift up was great, and then that drop was equally as painful. So
Yeah,
that's
and it's crazy. Like, I think when it comes to our parents, I can speak from this personally because I know that sometimes people can have a toxic relationship with their parents, but I'm personally okay being a little bit more subservient to my parents because I know that it is a balanced relationship. I know that my parents can be subservient to me because I'm their child and they've done everything that they could to go out of their way for me. And so I can go out of my way for them. That's the
yeah,
difference,
yeah.
right?
Like, yeah, exactly. There's certain relationships that you give up a little bit more than others. So
Than others because in the parent child relationship, they give up for you and then you give up for them later. It's one of those relationships that like tends to balance itself out if you do it correctly, right? And
yeah,
it depends on the relationship you have with your parents, but sometimes I think that people um, kind of take things a little bit too far and they're like, I don't want to do this for parents. Like, who are they to tell me what to do? And that's not what me and Serena try to speak about to you guys. We really tried to talk about in that particular relationship to stand up for the things that are good for you, that
yeah,
you desire and that you dream of, right?
yeah,
um but I mean that's like a whole other conversation, but people pleasing can be something that we learn from a very very young age. And I know that it's very difficult for a people pleaser to even think about putting themselves first,
yeah,
right, and taking that power back from other people.
yeah.
um so
I
like
think
for example,
yeah.
sorry,
No, go
I
ahead, go
just
ahead.
had a note about this example here, right? So let's say you're on a crowded sidewalk, right? You blow your fuse at every single stranger who bumps you in public. That's a recipe for success. And not to mention for being an unpleasant person, but the underlying mindset in this situation can definitely be problematic, right? So understanding what you are and and aren't responsible for, which comes back to boundaries. That's huge, right? And taking your burden out on other people and having expectations or putting responsibilities on them isn't just bad for us, it's bad for people in our lives. So
Mhm.
when we are people pleasers, oftentimes we put things on them, right? When we really need to learn to take the power back.
Yeah, it's truly about taking power back, and know that we talk about it so much. You're in control of every decision you make in your life. And
Mhm.
if people pleasing is hindering your growth as a human in this world, or your business, or whatever it is, change that shit up. You don't need to. You need to start with pleasing yourself. That's the biggest thing you can take away from any of our talks. But I feel like it starts with you, and you need to really bring that back to yourself, and
Mhm.
letting go of having or giving the power to other people to make you make the decisions you make because of other people. Really just bring it back to yourself, because I feel like it all starts with yourself. And it's a lot of work. It's a lot of painful, a lonely time sometimes, because people will not be on that ship. People will please people because it's the easiest way to feel and be accepted.
Yeah.
Yeah, being a yes man, being, hey, yeah, you do that, and not telling your friends or family when something is wrong or what you don't agree with. You're gonna be a yes man, yes woman, and that's not gonna take you anywhere in life, because you're not being genuine to yourself. You're just saying yes whenever. Learn to say no. That's another one. Learn to say no, because
That's one of the signs.
you will realize how quickly people step the fuck away from you as soon as you say no to events, or get-togethers, or just no to having people in your life. If you don't
Yeah,
want people in your life, just don't have them. If
totally.
you want to be there for someone, be there for someone because you want to be there. Give people stuff because you want to give people stuff. But if you don't want them or need them in your life, don't do not invite energy that you know that you don't want, but then you end up saying yes to that energy because you want to fucking please everybody but yourself.
Yeah, and,
Yeah,
and and people that are people
that's pretty
pleasers
much
are
it.
notorious for having like their energy being drained, right? At the end of the day. And that's something that you really gotta watch out for. Is my internet unstable? Am I freezing?
It
Uh-oh.
is. It's green. I was trying to look at the camera. I don't think I froze at all.
Oh,
Is it frozen right now for you?
no, you're back.
I don't know which
You froze.
screen. Yeah, it hasn't stopped for me at all, so I don't know what's been recording. We'll see.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry,
All
guys. I
good.
know we're still using Zoom. We're still using Zoom. We're gonna come
All
together
good.
real soon here, maybe in the next couple episodes. So bear
So
with us.
a couple of notes that I have, which are some signs that you're a people pleaser. Okay, and I'm just gonna share a couple, and Serena covered some of these as well. Um, but I think it's important for us to like kind of know what some of those signs are, because even till this day, I can probably pick up on a couple that I fall under, right? And we constantly need to work at these things. So one sign is you have a low opinion of yourself, right? Low self-esteem. You
Yeah,
need others to like you.
yeah,
Serena mentioned one. It's hard to say no. You might
yeah,
be afraid or think that telling someone no or turning down a request, whether
yeah,
it's going out to an event or they need your help, you might think that it will make them think that you don't care about them. But agreeing to do what they might want you to do, even though it seems like a safer option, it will actually do more harm than good in the long run, right?
yeah,
You apologize. This is a huge one. This is something that I was really bad for at some point. You apologize or accept fault when you aren't to blame.
yeah.
You're always the one that's ready with the story, right in your back pocket. You got the story. Before you even say anything, the story's already coming out,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
Because what happens is when you're a people pleaser, you're so ready to just take the blame, right? Even when nothing that has happened might not even have anything to do with you, but you just want the situation to be easy. You want to avoid the conflict, and you think that it's okay for you to just take the blame, and it's all good. Like for example, let's say you're responsible for taking, let's say a work order for lunch or a coffee, right? You get everybody's coffee order, you go down and you get it, but let's say the coffee shop mixed up the order, right? You didn't get the right coffee that the person ordered. And so you feel like, instead of saying, oh, you know what, the restaurant must have messed up, or the coffee shop messed up, you take the blame and you say, you know what, let me go buy you a different coffee, even though it had nothing to do with you. That's
Yeah.
just an example, because like I used to always get coffee at work.
Yeah.
um let's say you're quick to agree to everything even when you don't really agree. Someone has an opinion and you have a hard time forming your own, you'd rather just agree with what they agree with, because maybe you think it makes you more likable, or you don't have an opinion of your own, right? You're someone that's a giver. I think that goes without saying. You like giving to others, and you do it with a goal of being liked.
Yeah, there's a goal behind it. It's not just, you're not doing shit just because you want to do
Yeah,
it. There's a
like
goal of
it.
either acceptance
Yeah,
or being like,
you need to always feel like you're a fucking champion, right?
yeah,
So you give and
yeah,
you give and you give, but you do so hoping people will, recognize your love and your support. And those type of people are the ones that, if they don't get it, they will throw it at you later and be like, I did this for you and I did that for you. And it's like,
yeah.
didn't
There's
ask
an
you to.
yeah. You can't have expectation behind that for sure. And as soon as the
Yeah.
expectation's there, yeah, you know you're on a different page.
Yeah, and sometimes, like, if you take a look at some of those things and where you might fit in, those are like the main things. Um, it's not like people pleasing is like 1000% negative, but part of having relationships with people
Yeah,
involves understanding their wants, their needs, and feelings, right? And so when you're in a relationship or friendship, sometimes you put your shit to the side to be there for someone. That's not people
yeah,
pleasing. That is
yeah, yeah, yeah.
like having a relationship,
Yeah.
right? But when you start to neglect your needs and your feelings, right? And you put another person on a pedestal, that can sometimes lead to then a people pleasing issue, right?
Yeah, an example would be if you are wanting to start a business, but your family and friends aren't encouraging or understand what you're doing, so you give in to not starting it or going after it fully. That has a sting of people pleasing, because you're less worried about what the fuck you want and more worried about what the world wants out of you. And that is literally why this topic even came up, is that start picking your side first and then going to the people in your life, because at the end of the day, you yourself live with yourself the most in your head, physically, mentally, emotionally. So you got to know that you got to be your first option before
Yeah.
others enter your world and give you their opinions or what it is. So it
And
really
people,
starts. Yeah,
sorry,
yeah, no, go ahead. Yeah, no, go ahead. Yeah,
people will respect and love you so much more for having your boundaries. I promise you this. I'm
yeah,
trying to think about the person who's listening to this right now that is in the height of people pleasing, like that lives there. And when I think about that, when I think about someone like my mom that I love dearly, I have to remind her oftentimes to put herself first. I have to remind her quite often that she is valuable and she doesn't need to continue to go out of her way for anyone. And I think that if you recognize that there is a people pleaser in your life, take the time out to actually talk to them and point it out to them,
yeah,
because you
yeah.
you can be the person that keeps reaping the benefits off of a people pleaser, and if you recognize that that's what they're doing and you continue to allow them to do that, then you're an asshole.
If they're spreading themselves thin, know and be there for them and just give them your words of encouragement, and the rest is up to the person at the end of the day. But yeah, be there if a person feels like their energy is getting drained because they're getting pulled all the directions
Yeah,
and they're letting themselves be pulled in every direction.
and you may not be pulling, you may just be like, oh yeah, they keep giving so you keep taking. With my mom, it's a pure example of like, I never even realized it until a couple of years ago that she was going way out of her way And I kept taking what was being given to me and not recognizing what sacrifices she was making
Yeah.
so that I would have convenience in my life,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she's doing this till this day. And like, I have to constantly sit down and say to her, like, and I know that she's not going to stop going out of her way. So I purposely stop accepting things from her that I'm like, I can do this myself. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And reminding those people that you love that are people pleasing. And if this is you, I'm speaking to you too, that you're valuable and you're worthy, and the people around you actually want you to have more boundaries for yourself, because a lot of people are looking to you as an example of how to treat themselves,
Yeah. No, I've
right?
been preaching that exact thing to my family, the closest people, my aunt, when my aunts and my mom too. I've been preaching that, like, really start worrying about your own opinion on something. Stop worrying about the
Yeah.
world. You worried about them for long enough. Let that shit go. Yeah.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
want to you want to go out and do some of your favorite things, go and
Yeah.
do them and don't worry about the house. You want to
Yeah.
go and like take some time and chill, cool.
Mm.
You are, my mom is extremely ill right now, and she lays in bed in the evening worried about like what everyone else is going to have for dinner. And I'm
Yeah.
like, you're literally like
Yeah. Stop. Yeah.
extremely sick. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Yeah.
And so, but you have to work on it, and you have to remember that it's not selfish to put your boundaries up. It's actually good for you. It's good for
Yeah.
you, and it's good for the people around you, because we all learn from each other,
Yeah.
right?
For sure.
So that's just a couple of things there, guys. This if anything, this episode is your reminder to take a step back, think about where you might be going out of your way a little bit too much, where you
Mhm.
can be giving back to yourself, and how
Yeah.
you can actually show up for the world from a balanced and healthy place, not from a low energy, low vibrational, drained place,
Yeah.
from an
Yeah.
empowered.
It's much easier to come from positivity than from negativity. As much as negative shit is all around us, it's much easier when you're able to give, truly give,
Yeah,
and not just give it because you're needing acceptance. So,
totally.
yeah.
Love y'all.
Thank you guys. Stay tuned for another episode next week. We'll be back on Wednesday. Thanks again. See you next week.
Awesome. See you.
Bye.